some people that I have just meeting now. So this is incredible. We got Warriors for a Cure. It's a free event. We got food. Redefined meals. Jess and Emily over there were gracious enough to bring food. So we'll pass this around. Warriors for a Cure. A bunch of high school kids came together and they're raising money. Set a goal of $55,000, 7-week campaign to raise money for those touched with blood cancer. So it's a good cause. Free event. Let's donate. You know. Without further ado, Belisario, Joe Cruz, Revived Residential had some great conversations with these guys. They just launched their own brand, Revived Residential. 40 listings in the last month or something, so it's crazy like that. So I can wait. Yeah. A lot of agents in the building right now can learn a lot. I'm looking forward to learning. So let's do it, fellas. Give them a hand.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for coming, for being here. So for those that don't know me, I'll introduce myself. Lou will introduce himself, and then we'll kind of get into personal brand and what it really takes to have the energy and to be successful in business and real estate, right? So I'm Joe Cruz. I started my real estate career when I was 17 years old, and I look 17 now, do I? I saw her face, and she was like, "Wait, what do you mean? You're like 17 now." So it's been 17 years. I'm 35 in 10 days. So that's a long time. And I started just renting apartments, eventually started my own company, and then transitioned into a major big brand company. And here we are. We just launched a month ago our own company. But, you know, there's a lot of things that I'm going to go into after Lou introduces himself of what I feel is the key to success. And yeah, so we'll talk about it, and thanks again for coming.
Yep. What's up, guys? Belisario. I know a lot of people in the room. Thank you guys for coming out. We appreciate the support. Nice to meet everybody who I haven't met in the past. Yeah, like Joe said, we just launched Revive Residential. It's something I think was coming for a long time for us. We've been partners for probably almost like 6 years. We know each other for about a decade. I've been in the business since I am 19. I just turned 38, so almost 20 years in real estate. We do mainly Brooklyn and Queens, but like the Rockaways is probably like our main part of Queens, Howard Beach. You could see my shirt. I wore this shirt today because we're talking about how to build your brand. And this is something that is a major part of what my brand is. And as we go further into this conversation, you know, we'll talk a little bit about that and you know, how to build that brand up over the years. It takes a long time to obviously grow a brand. It's not overnight, obviously. It takes a long time, a lot of dedication, a lot of hours, a lot of thinking outside the box to get to where you have to be. A lot of the agents on in our company now, we're so used to saying team, you know, are in the room also, and you know, they hear us say this every single week, so they may get tired of hearing it, but it's the truth. We're here to help, offer any advice that we possibly can. If there's any questions as we go through, just ask. And you know, we're open books. That's the one thing about this business that I've always wanted to be, was somebody with information, somebody with knowledge that I could pass on to other people to help them grow in their business, and that's the truth. That's really it. So as we go through, like I said, ask any questions you want, and we're here for, you know, to help out whatever way we can.
All right, cool. Listen, I always look at life and business like the McDonald's drive-thru, right? Some people have heard me say this before. The first step when you get to the McDonald's drive-thru, right? Maybe at 3 in the morning after a couple of drinks, right? The first step is you actually have to make the decision to go there, right? It's like, you know, I'm hungry. What do? All right, fuck it, I'll get McDonald's, right? So you go to McDonald's, and then you take the step of the decision. You make a decision in life or business. And then when you get there and you go to the first window, normally you're screaming what you want, right? So they can hear you loud and clear. You have to do that in business. You have to know loud and clear to the universe, what do you want? What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish, right? And then once they know what you want, the next step is you go to the next window. And in order to do that, you have to accelerate. Means you have to get to work. You actually have to take action. You can't just say what you want and then not do it. You have to take action and go to the next window. And by putting in the work, that means you got to give them your debit card or your cash, and you got to pay. You got to pay up. Because if you don't pay up and you don't put in the work, your goals are not going to be accomplished. Finally, the last step is you drive and you pick up your meal, right? Your chicken nuggets, whatever you ordered, your Big Mac, and that's the results. That's when you see the results. But it all starts with a decision that you're gonna go have McDonald's. Same thing in business. It all starts with a decision, what you want, and then clarity, and then you gotta put in the work. So I always look at anything I'm doing in life like the McDonald's drive-thru. And then you have to have a good attitude, right? Because if you're gonna get somewhere, having a bad attitude is like having a flat tire and expecting to get to Brooklyn all the way from Long Island, right? So your attitude is very important. The energy, the vibe that you put in, that's what makes people want to do business with you. That's what makes people trust you. And that feeling, that experience you give them, then people are like, you know what? I like that guy. I want to give him my house to sell. Or you know what? I like that guy. I trust him. I'm going to refer him business. That feeling that you give people when you have a positive attitude, when you have good energy, people get excited. They feel it. And sometimes they don't even know it, but they just feel it, that you like someone, right? You ever met someone that you kind of like, there's something about them. I just like him. Or I just like it, right? So that's exactly what your clients are feeling when you go on a listing appointment or you meet a new buyer, and that's what that's your personal brand. So that's where it begins. The experience you give someone when you meet them, right? You can talk a little bit about like experience and how you make others feel, and then yeah.
So kind of where I want everybody to think for a second, right? As we spoke about in a lot of our meetings recently, and I've studied branding forever, right? The first internship I ever had in my whole life, I was like a sophomore in college, and I had got a job as an intern with Vitamin Water, right? And this is probably going back to like 2005, something like that, right? And Vitamin Water, all they preached was branding, right? So they had different flavors of Vitamin Water, right? And all it was the brand, and you have to push certain flavors, this, that, and the other thing. That really started to make me think about branding and how important it is. They'd bring in celebrity sponsors. They had 50 Cent, they had Kelly Clarkson, they had Shaquille O'Neal, they had David Wright, whoever it was. They had them come on and push the brand also. They got to the point where their brand was so big that Coca-Cola bought their brand for $2 billion, right? And that was something that really resonated with me. And at the same time, I was like I said, about 19, I had just got my real estate license also. And I said, what is my brand, right? What is my brand, truly, right? And I'm wearing this shirt today for that reason, right? So back then, I had a shirt that said Made in Brooklyn on it, right? And I was like, you know what? I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. The future of Brooklyn, if anybody, I'm sure, who can trace their roots back to Brooklyn in this room? Somebody was, right? 1 in 4 people in the United States of America can trace their roots back to Brooklyn, right? And I learned that part of it. Brooklyn's the 4th largest city in the United States of America. If it was a city, it would be the 4th largest city in the United States of America. Brooklyn was going through a transition at that point, and is continuing to go through a transition, right? So a lot of people from Brooklyn, born and raised, who sound like me, don't live in Brooklyn anymore, right? They live in Long Island, they live in Staten Island, they live in Jersey, they live in Florida, they live in the Carolinas, right? So as I went through my career, I really pushed the fact that I was like the last of the Mohicans in a lot of the neighborhoods that I worked in Brooklyn. And that was part of my brand, and what I built on it was the Brooklyn brand. And I leveraged that, and I think everybody in the room can leverage something that they're connected to help build their brand up, right? Brooklyn was its own brand. At the time, I remember my office, if anybody's familiar with Brooklyn, my office was in Fort Greene for 12 years, right? 2 blocks up from my office was a hole in the middle of Atlantic Avenue. And they built the Barclays Center there. And I watched the Barclays Center get built. And as I was going through, this is probably like 2009 to like 2012, I think they opened up the Barclays Center. As I watched that, I watched Brooklyn become more of a brand, more of a household name. Now we had an NBA team, right? So now the NBA team's in Brooklyn. Now Brooklyn's getting so much notoriety, right? Now every single house in Brooklyn that I was selling for $500,000 is now selling for $1.5 million, right? And I'm like, wow, this is really blowing up. Why is it blowing up for? What's so special about Brooklyn? We know what's special about Brooklyn because we grew up in Brooklyn. But the people who are coming into Brooklyn are learning Brooklyn. And I felt like it was my job to really keep the old Brooklyn alive. And that's part of what we've done with Revive Residential, with preaching to our team on what to go out there and do, to focus on people who can see what the old Brooklyn was, can see where the new Brooklyn is going, combine that together and use that as a part of your brand, right? And all of us on a personal level, this is something that I've been thinking about in the last 60 days, right, as we were launching this company. Everybody in this room has one thing in common. You have a past, you have a present, and you have a future. And all three of those levels of your life truly affect your brand, your personal brand, right? We had a conversation 2 weeks ago about this, where I'm blessed because I've been in the business since I'm a teenager. So people know me as Lou, the real estate broker, sells Brooklyn, that's what he does, right? That's part of my brand. But a lot of people in the room have a past. Maybe if you got into the business later in life, what did you do before that, right? What was your brand before that, right? I'll use you as an example, right? You had a completely different career and you transition into real estate, right? So your past, people still think of Al, UFC fighter, that you're trying to get him into now Al, real estate broker, that's who I am, right? And we all have now that same commonality, right? So who in here had a career before real estate, right? Your job now in building your personal brand is getting people to know, yes, I used to do that, but this is what I do now, right? Because your sphere of influence, your network, your social media following, those people will relate you to what you were, right? Even your personal life, look at it that way too. Maybe you were like a party animal in your 20s, right? Maybe you were a lunatic. Oh, that's the lunatic from when I was 25 years old,
I see
right?
smiles over here. What's going
Right?
on?
Or go back to high school even, right? How many people have ever sold a house to somebody from high school, right? I do it all the time, right? Back in high school, who were you in high school? Who were you in college? Who were you in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s? Who are you? Where are you right now? Where are you going? All of these things you have to think about when you're building your personal brand up. And you truly have to take every moment now because you're so publicized now, right? It's not like everybody in here has Instagram, everybody in here has Facebook, everybody in here has Twitter and whatever other social media platforms you're using, right? You have to, every post you make, every word you say, right? The way you speak, all filter into your personal brand, right? And some people think I'm crazy, but I'm so neurotic about what I put out there, right? And who I am and how I speak. If I do an Instagram story and I don't like it, I'll do that shit 10 times over again until I do like it, right? I'll put a post out there. If I don't like the way I wrote the post, I'll go back and edit it 10 times until it's perfect, right? And all that matters now because we're all under a microscope. And that's the part of building your personal brand that really matters. You could say one thing. I remember years ago, there was an agent I worked with. This is probably like 2015, 2016, around that time. This is when Trump first became president, right? It doesn't make a difference. It's not a political thing right now. So it doesn't matter. I don't care who you vote for. It doesn't make a difference. He would battle with people on Facebook about politics. And I'd be like, yo, what are you doing? Like, why are you getting engaged in this for? Number one, you're going to have a heart attack. Number two, right? Because truthfully, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. We could have definitely had a heart attack. Like, you got to relax. Take it easy. Take a step back and don't get yourself so involved in these parts of the world. You want to have a conversation about politics? Have it in a room with people. Like your friends, your family, you know, you're going out to a bar, you're going out to a restaurant, wherever you're doing, then talk about politics and your opinions on the world, right? You don't have to put it all out there because you alienate yourself in a lot of ways from gigantic groups of people that you could be doing business with, you know, and a part of that really matters in your personal brand as well. And then truthfully, I watched his career go off a cliff. That's not even an exaggeration because he was so heavily involved in like neighborhood pages, right? So it wasn't just him battling with his friends. It was him battling on, you know, friends of whatever neighborhood or, you know, whatever it is. And now it's like, dude, they're not gonna call you. They don't want to deal with that. Who wants to even talk about it anymore, right? So as you go through your career and as in your life, remember what your past was, know what your current moment in time is, and believe in whatever your future is. And don't be afraid. What we all are, another commonality, we're all storytellers. Right? All we do is tell stories. That's all we do as real estate brokers. We're going out, we're telling stories. You're sitting at a listing appointment, you're trying to find common ground with somebody, right? You walk in, I love fish. I walk into a house, I'll see me with a fish tank. I'll know like 5 species of the fish in the fish tank. That's me breaking ice with somebody, right? And now I could sit there and tell them a story about the fish tank that I have or that my cousin has or whatever. Or I went scuba diving or whatever it is come out with, right? So we're all storytellers. We try to find commonality with people. Do not alienate yourself by saying things and putting things out there because you're angry in the moment, because that moment in time could potentially screw you up for God knows how long. It could cost you a deal at any point in time. So take your personal brands very seriously, especially now, because we're in a world, again, that is under a microscope. And we're all using social media. Is anybody in here not using social media to boost it, to put their properties out there, to talk about themselves, to whatever, post your kids, post food, everybody's using it, right? So just be very careful with that because it could affect your personal brand. That's basically it. If anybody has any questions about that, feel free to ask.
I do want to add before we open up for some Q&A. Who's heard the saying, don't judge a book by its cover? It's bullshit. You walk into a room, people judge you right away. Right away. In life, social media, you put up something, people are judging what you're wearing, people are judging what you're saying. So your brand is how people judge you. And that determines if people are going to refer you or do business with you, unfortunately. So when you walk into a room or you walk into a listing appointment or you're meeting a client or a potential business deal you're doing, make sure that when you speak, people respect what you say. Even what you're wearing nowadays, people are judging you, right? So just be mindful that people are judging you by the cover of the book. And it's very important that I spoke about how you make people feel, but it's also how they look at you, right? So if you walk into a room, I was saying this in our team meeting the other day, and you're showing up late, that's the first problem. How can I trust this person? They're not thinking that, but they're feeling it, right? If you're all sloppy, you have coffee all over you, how are they really going to handle the business that we're supposed to do together if they can't even put themselves together properly, right? And knowing what you're talking about. Whatever business you're in, either it's real estate, mortgages, whatever it is, read, educate yourself. Information is power. And when you have that information and you're able to talk to someone and give them information, they start trusting you because you know what the hell you're talking about.
I got to
It's very powerful.
Oh, look, a legend just walked into the room.
Yeah.
There he is. Another thing I want to bring up to piggyback what Joe just said too, and then we could open it up to the questions if anybody has any, is who's heard a Adele song? Someone like you. Who's heard that song? Right? Everybody's heard that song before?
Should I sing it?
Do it. Right?
I'll never find.
So this is an analogy I always use, right? To piggyback what Joe said is, if Adele spoke the words of that song, would it leave the same impact on you as opposed to when she sings the song, right? So all of us are going out every single day singing the song of real estate, whatever that is for that moment in time. If you're going out and just speaking words with no emotion, if you're not invoking any emotion behind your words, you're going to be completely unsuccessful at what you do, right? So just remember that when you're out there talking to people, it's so important to leave them with a feeling. Leave them with a feeling. It may be it may be a conversation that their house, they want $1 million, their house is worth $700,000. That's okay. That's not a big deal. You still have to sing the right song to them to let them understand when they're sleeping in bed at night with their significant other and talking about selling the house. You know what? Lou's right. He really is right. He proved it to us. He sold us on that because he sung the right real estate song to him. Right? If you just speak the words, it has no emotion. You want people to hear you, but you want people to also believe in what you're saying, right? So speaking words and singing a song, two different things. That was something I thought about and I never really forgot. And how many times have I said that to you guys? Like every single meeting, right? When you're on the phone, you're calling FSBOs, you're calling expireds, you're calling whoever you're doing. You cannot just speak the words. You have to sing them a song. Sing them a song and leave them with an emotion. And if you do that, you should have success throughout your career. Part of Brooklyn that we work in may be similar to Long Island in a lot of ways, where there's a lot of like exclusive listings that people don't go broke, and we've had conversations even before this lawsuit happened about collecting a buyer's fee. So yes, we've had many conversations about it. Personally, I see a lot of the boards and a lot of the MLS as being it's not a law yet. They're just being proactive and putting it out there as a law now. I've heard from a lot of different people that they think that case may get thrown out completely, but at this point, like Rebney has already been proactive about it. Our Brooklyn MLS is proactive about it. I'm sure Wantagh is already proactive about it as well. So I don't have a problem with that change, to be honest with you, either. I think it's actually probably a good change for the industry. We spoke about it many times where it's going to be uncomfortable in the beginning, but in reality, it can probably help you make more money. We get co-brokes in Brooklyn for like 1% all the time. So it's like you're getting a 1%. Now you could actually ask a buyer for an extra point or two on a deal to represent you, because you're now able to value yourself and what you do and bring to the table a lot higher. So, yeah, we've had many of those conversations
There's
before.
going to be ones out there that come out and try to be really undercut everybody, but
Oh, yeah.
you kind of get what you pay for.
But listen, that's been this industry since the second I got into it. There was Foxtons that did that. Then there's been a bunch of them that do that over the years. There's always going to be people who are going to undercut you. And at the end of the day, for us, you have to go in and know what your value is as agents and what you're worth. And at the end of the day, you're the one showing them why you're important. Right? So you're the one who's creating demand for their house. You're the one who's going to sit there and invest money into their properties, et cetera, et cetera. So the commission conversations, I never worry that much about being undercut, because if you're good enough at what you do, people will see the value in it and they'll pay you for it. It may not be 6% anymore every single deal, but there's still plenty of money to be made in the business.
And is there talk to working that into like the purchase price to kind of recoup that?
We've heard a lot of that talk too. So that conversations happen. I'm sure that's something where like it's an FHA deal. You could toss it into a seller's concession and things like that. So yeah, that conversations happened. If the buyer, like Claudette's a great example of it. Claudette definitely has those conversations with her buyers all the time. And I think that the feedback has been relatively positive. Right? There hasn't been anybody, Claudette, who's giving you like crazy pushback, like, nah, get out of here. Yeah, I'm not working with you. So, in the beginning, there was like a panic mode, like anything else that's new. And then after time, we don't even think about this anymore, to be honest with you.
Selling now, you're going to get hit on both ends.
Yeah, exactly. But I'll be honest with you, as we're going through, we don't even think about it as much anymore.
Change is usually an opportunity that arises. And at the beginning, like Lou said, everyone's getting nervous. I'm like, guys, this is an opportunity. Like, this is an opportunity to, one, show your buyers the value that you bring to the table, and two, make more money. Because in the past, if the listing broker is only offering you 1%, right? But now you have the opportunity to demonstrate to the buyer why you're worth 2.5 or 3%, and get paid 2.5 or 3% instead of 1%. So it's an opportunity. It's always how you look at things. Back to attitude and brand, right? Are you looking at this like, oh man, look at this law, now I'm really gonna go out of business? Or are you taking this like, you know what? This is my opportunity to show my buyers why I am worth 3%. And if the listing broker is only offering 1, the buyer will pay me another 2.
Yep.
So.
I have a question.
Hi.
I'm Maria Adamanelli. I'm with Homesmall Premier Living Realty. I just have a question. So what is your main source of marketing, and where do you get most of your business from?
I think every agent's business individually comes from different places on a personal level. Now at this point, it's really through referrals. So in the beginning of my career, I hammered phones like anybody else did. I started in the exact same place as everybody else. Expired listings, FSBOs, door knocking. Back then it was different types of marketing. Now it's so easy to market today. We spend a lot of money on social media. So we invest very heavily in that. We just made another significant investment in social media. And that today, that's probably the biggest source of branding.
So what
And
kind of investment did you make?
we went ahead and hired somebody to help grow our personal brands even further. Daniel, who's our social
Public
media
relations,
coordinator, and we have a PR person. Daniel's our growth and marketing manager of our team page, which is organically been grown to probably like 15,000 followers now, but our goal is to be over 100,000 followers within the next year or so, which I think we'll get to. Today it's a lot easier to market than it used to be, because you used to have to dump so much money into marketing. Today, you don't really have to do that. And something I used to say years ago, and remember, I've been through generations of real estate. People did not believe in social media 10 years ago. Right? I remember I used to sit in at another company I was at, the first company I was ever at. I used to sit in manager meetings with older managers, and they would not believe it. They're like, nope, not going to believe it. I don't believe it. It's never going to work, never going to work, never going to work. I'm like, dude, it's just like saying the internet's not going to work. Like, what are you talking about? And we used to butt heads over it. And the analogy I used then was, you usually get a box of business cards. It's 1,000 business cards. How long would it take you to give 1,000 business cards out?
Probably a year.
That's giving out 3 business cards a day. It would take you a year to do that, right?
Not a good
No,
example.
no, 3. No, 3's fine. 3's fine. But if you posted one post and then spent $50 on a boost, how many people can you reach on that boost? Right? Probably like 15,000.
Or a story. My stories get usually 900
Yeah.
people.
But it is the cheapest form of marketing.
It's because it's free.
That's why you,
Right.
yeah.
It's free. So why wouldn't you use free marketing, right? And also you should have some type of budget that you're reinvesting back into that again, right? And this is something that I've been on one of the first people on Facebook, because Facebook came out when I was in college, right? So, and you got to understand social media too. Facebook is for like 40 and older. Instagram is for people who are actually buying houses right now. TikTok, if it's still available and not made illegal, is for the early 20s and late teen kids. So we invest heavily in Instagram because the average home buyer is on Instagram. We invest heavily in Facebook because the average home seller is on Facebook.
Have you gotten deals from Instagram?
All day long.
100%.
Literally all day long.
100%.
All day long. And it's not even about you getting deals from Instagram. This is the part of it. Forget that. Forget that. Your brand is boosted on Instagram, right? So it's not a matter of lead. This is like when Coca-Cola puts up a billboard on the BQE. Can they count how many people buy Cokes because of their BQE Instagram? No. I mean, BQE billboard? No, they can't do that. It's incalculable, right? But your brand is showcased on those places. So it's just like, all right, you'd rather spend $2,000 to blanket a neighborhood with junk mail that they're going to throw away anyway in the hopes that one person says, oh, I like their postcard, I'm going to call them. You know how many postcards I've sent out in my life? Less than 5,000 postcards in 20 years because I never believed in it. I think he believes in it. I do not believe in it, right? So he does it. It works for him. It works for him. For me, I think it's a massive waste of money. And I think that you could take that money and invest that money smartly in other things. I think being a part of your community is so important, right? Kudos to Al. This is a phenomenal thing to have here, right? Everybody in here should have a charity that you work with. Everybody in here should have that, right? What's your charity? Every deal, you should boost and promote the fact that you donate X amount of dollars out of every deal to your favorite charity, right? If you list your home with me, right? Mike just did this, right? In the church he grew up in his neighborhood, they just put in the what's it called, the tablet or whatever, in the back. He put if you sell your house with us, we'll donate $1,000 to the church, right? But this is thinking outside the box. Nobody told him to do that, right? The thing with real estate agents today is a lot of real estate agents are not willing to think for themselves because they're given so much, right? I'm, again, blessed that I grew up in the industry when there wasn't much given to you, right? When I walked into the door, they were like, all right, there's a desk, there's a phone, go figure that shit out. And that was it. You know, now it's right? Leslie, tell me yes or no. Yeah. You were around.
I was like,
Right? But now it's, you get nonstop training, Zillow leads, Street Easy leads, Realtor.com leads, Truly leads. Where's my leads? Where's my leads? Go get your own fucking leads. That's really what it comes down to, because now the truth is, the broker, you now have a crutch with the broker. The broker's your crutch to live, right? We talk about the same thing all the time. You have to go out and generate your own business. Generating your own business, the easiest way to do this is by not being afraid to jump on social media and just do it the right way. Study it. It is literally a science. There's $1 billion industry behind this. We just paid somebody $20,000 the other day to do this for us, right? Because we believe in it so much. And at the end of the day, that's your PR. You are your brand. That's another part of branding that's so important, right? We have a brokerage, Revive Residential. Everybody here is with the brokerage, right, at some point in time. But you have to understand, the way that the industry is going is no longer the brokerage and then the agent. The agent is bigger than the brokerage now. That's the part that agents have to really understand. So yeah, your brokerage could invest millions of dollars in marketing the brokerage. How does that really help you at the end of the day? By walking in and saying, I'm from so-and-so real estate, it's a familiar name? It doesn't, right? The business that you guys generate, you generate because of you. And if you're not marketing you properly, then you could expect to not be in this business anymore, because everybody else is gonna be marketing themselves, and you're the ones who are gonna be missing out on it. So make sure you're investing in yourself. At the end of the day, you know how much money you all make in the room. You should be taking a portion of that money, and it shouldn't be like a small portion, right? I use analogies all the time with the team, right? I'm like, you don't want to spend $2,000 on this, but you'll spend $2,000 on that. You'll spend $2,000 to go on a weekend vacation. You'll drop $2,000 to go to AC and play fucking craps, right? But you won't spend $2,000 to invest in your business. It's foolish. It's foolish, and that's a part of your personal brand that you have to really think about, right? Take a portion of your income, invest it back into you, your name, your brand. I'm the brand. Lou Belisario is a fucking brand in Brooklyn. That's real life. That is real life. I'm a brand in Brooklyn. He's a brand in Brooklyn, right? Smelly, how long I know you? Forever. Haven't we seen that happen through the industry? Right? That's exactly what happens through the industry, right? That's what it is, and everybody has to see that, right? Who's in the industry for less than 5 years? Right? That's okay.
It's fine.
That's okay. But understand something. You are the brand. Do not forget those words. Invest in yourself. Invest in what you're doing to build yourself up. The brokerage is great. Everybody offers bells and whistles. Everybody has that. It's wonderful. We do the same thing. But at the end of the day, they're never going to tell you to do what I'm telling you to do. Invest in yourself. Invest in your brand. Learn it. Study it. I'm big on networking, right? That's a huge thing for us, is networking. We speak about it all the time, right? As often as you can. 3 to 4 times a month minimum, you should be somewhere, right? We were at a place last night in Staten Island. We're here this morning in Long Island, right? Next week, we have 2 other events that we're doing in Brooklyn, right? But you have to get out there because that's, again, your name is your brand. The most important thing to me in my life when I got into this business, so my grandfather was also in this business. His name is my name. So I was like, how could I ever mess up my name if it's his name, right? I was given that name, right? I could never mess that up, so I took it so seriously. And I was blessed to take it so seriously because it brought us to where we are right now. And if you guys do the same thing, there's no reason why you shouldn't get to whatever level it is that you want to be at. If you want to make $1 million, you want to make $100,000. It doesn't make a difference. But just invest back into yourself, into your business, study it, learn it, love it. Be proud of who you are, be confident in what you do, and just get out there and crush it. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. I'll answer your question shortly. Follow up, follow up, follow up. The people that you already are in contact with, just continue following up with them. That's how you get business. That's how you get business. And then there's other people, when Lou mentioned who's less than 5 years, not that many hands went up. So there's a lot of people that have been in the business for a while. My advice to those people is, imagine you're at the beach and you take sand and then you just, with your hand, take as much sand as you can and you squeeze it, right? And you squeeze it and you squeeze it and then it starts slipping through your fingers. That's what happens sometimes with business. It just slips right through your fingers and it's right in your hand. Focus on the clients that you already have, service them properly, follow up with them, and have them give you repeat business. That's what it is.
Yep.
Questions?
Good. All right. Well, thank you for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.